So Hall of Fame, we established our own Hall of Fame here. Sean and I said
We did.
if everyone else can do it, it's literally a matter of having a platform, having a microphone.
As the Cranberries said, everyone else is doing it, so why can't we?
There we go. So we have a Drum Key Hall of Fame that we're slowly racking stuff up. Some classics that have been around forever, some new things that we think are kind of game changers, or the idea at least we think is going to survive. But today, we are inducting the 6th member. Is it a member of the Hall of Fame? The 6th
Member, I like that. Yeah.
The 6th member. The
Or
6th
inductee.
There we go.
Well, that's a little redundant.
The 6th
Inducting the
into the Hall of Fame.
Inductee.
I'm saying it anyway.
Say it.
The 6th inductee into the Drum Key Hall of Fame is the Evans RealFeel practice pad.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Oh yeah, Sean's got one. We had
I
to
have two.
we had to bust one out here. Had to bust
is.
one out. Now, if you're familiar, Evans is now distributing the RealFeel pad. We love the double-sided one. There's the top side is kind of like your standard practice pad feel, the gum rubber pad. And then if you flip it over on the reverse side, it actually is like a marching pad. So a little bit harder surface to get that different resistance, like playing on a marching snare. But they make them in octagonal shapes. Nice, fit on any snare drum. Throw it in a snare basket. Keep it convenient. If you're like Sean, you keep one in your living room at all times.
At all times, I always joke, it doubles as a table. You can put your remote control, your phone there. It sits next to my desk. I spend a lot of time in my living room. I have a desk, and I have 2 monitors, and I entertain myself with the, drumming. I'll put on a drum video. I'll drum along. I spend a lot of time on this. Whoa. All of a sudden, the just changed. Anyway, I spent a lot of time. The sound changed. I spent a lot of time on my original HQ pad. That was the original. It was a tan finish. I should have brought it today, but it had a little sticker there. It says HQ pad. That's long since gone, but it was double-sided. You probably remember. It's called the HQ.
One, and this was
pad.
like tan, right?
Yeah,
You
it was
just said
tan.
It was tan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And I put it on a snare drum stand, and I spent a lot of time on that watching Jim Chapin's Speed, Power, and Control.
Awesome video.
And it's literally Jim Chapin, the master of the Moeller technique, on a RealFeel pad, talking about the technique and showing you exercises and such. And I just spent a lot of time just doing that in front of the TV. This is VHS. I still have it on VHS.
Yep.
Now you can find it on YouTube. You can watch the whole darn thing right on YouTube now.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anyone to get yourself a RealFeel pad and watch that video. But I will say that I think that if you are starting out, I agree with Rick on this. I think that starting out on a proper drum is where it's at. You know, because if I started on this, we might not be having this conversation today. Because playing on a practice pad was something I did not want to do. Now I love it. After you've been playing and you understand the importance of technique and really isolating that, playing on a practice pad is fun. I know it sounds goofy, but it's a lot of fun playing on a practice pad. But when you're starting out, I can see how just hitting this gum rubber pad, and you're like, why am I even? What's even?
Yeah, you lose a little bit of that allure of like, oh, I want to play the drums. Like, great, and you show up and for your lesson, and there's like, what you're gonna need is a slab of rubber to hit, and be like, oh, you mean something that's not loud, doesn't respond the exact same way, and is very boring. And I have that paired with just sheet music when I'm learning how to read. It's like very discouraging. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked too much about us getting into drums on the show, but I know that we didn't go the traditional route. As far as like traditional educational route, where you take lessons in school, you come up, you play in band, maybe marching band, jazz band, and that's how you get started. Sean and I did not come from that route. Very much more like, hey, our friends want to start a band. Yeah, I'll be the drummer. And then you're in a basement or a garage figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we had to go back and we had to go fundamentals and things like that.
But that said, a lot of people might not know this. I did go to one drum lesson, one like school traditional drum lesson when I was first starting. I mean, we're talking what, like 4th, 5th grade? I don't know when that is. 3rd, 4th grade. I forget what it was. And I went in and we played on practice pads the whole time. Or half the time we were playing on practice pads, which I found extremely dull. And the second half of the time they were like, oh yeah, also you can't just learn drums. You have to play this bell kit. So then it's like literally you're like have one of those bell kits. So it was like I had to learn notes on a bell kit, which is not a drum. I
Just
could have
wasn't
told you
your
that at
idea.
that time.
Just wasn't
and
what
it was
you
a
had in
practice
mind.
pad, and it was not. And because of that, I went home that day and said I quit, and that was it.
It
that
took
was
a couple
And then
years for
it
you to
took me
get-
until like high school to actually start drumming again.
Yep.
And that was when like people wanted to. I always had that in the back of my mind that I wanted to do that. But so long story short, practice pads are great. We sell a ton of these practice pads. Great pad to have, but I would definitely view it more as like a tool to excel rather than like your square one. Like you said,
Yeah.
starting out with a drum is going to encourage,
Yeah.
especially a kid that's just getting into it, or some parents like, hey, you should need to do something.
Sure.
They're going to want to hit a drum if they said they want to play the drums.
But I'm gonna just talk briefly about the importance of putting this on a snare drum stand, because not just because it doubles as a table, which I love, but because it's adjustable. So depending on where you're sitting in your house, you might sit on your couch, you might sit in a computer chair, you might sit on your drum throne. You can adjust it. You don't. If you're putting this on your coffee table and you're kind of like, oh, okay, you need
Or
to
playing it up
yeah,
on the
you need to
counter.
play this practice pad like you're sitting at a drum set. So that's why it is very important to put this on a snare drum stand, because it's fully adjustable.
Yep.
I've had band practice with this, where we needed to get one more rehearsal.
Just running through the
Just
songs.
run through the
like,
songs, where
chorus,
I'm
verse,
just playing
here,
like-
that. Yeah. Yep. Just to make
and
sure
I'm
everyone's
just
on the
drumming
same
along,
page.
yeah. And we're sitting in the basement, and we can't, just jam it out. And I'm just keeping time. I grab this.
Yeah.
I
And
just
you're
grab
warming
this.
up. And you're warming
Yeah.
up in the process.
Absolutely. So get yourself a RealFeel practice pad. Get yourself a proper snare drum stand, and watch Jim Chapin and
That's
go to
it.
town, baby.
That's Sean's go-to kit.
That is.
Cool. Awesome. Anything to add, Carl?
I totally agree. The practice pad is awesome. Starting with a snare if you can is great, but like if parents are hesitant because they're so darn loud that like if it's a pad, that's what it takes. Do it
For sure.
Definitely.
Yep.
Like down, because the sad part is we all know like drums. Like I want to be a drummer. It's like cool. The sky's the limit with how much money you can spend to just get in there
Of
right
course.
away. So
Of
like
course.
getting a pad, like you can do just like Sean just did, where you're playing a rock beat, you're doing all the stuff, but it's right there on the pad, and
Right.
with your own dynamics, you can kind of like make it sing a little bit or do,
Yeah.
make it musical essentially. But definitely the stand down the road. I mean, you can get cheap used stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
that. So you don't need to go
Yeah,
for.
you don't need to get the Pearl top of the line
Yeah.
S2000 $250 snare drum stand. I
Right.
think this might be a $70 snare drum stand.
Yep.
This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. It doesn't fall
and that's
out.
and that's new. And we've got used stuff too. Just hit up your local drum shop. You can get it going for very minimal cost. And then of course build up to it. The next thing, if you have your pad, then get a snare drum, but just stick the pad on top of it, so you start to feel and hear that snare buzz and have
Yeah.
that different response, and then work your way up, that sort of thing. But yeah, very cool, very cool. Hall of Fame inductee. It's in for life. No one ever gets kicked out of our Hall of Fame. It hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, unless they make us mad. No. All right, awesome. Yeah, let's jump ahead